It is not impermanence that makes us suffer. What makes us suffer is wanting things to be permanent when they are not. So says celebrated Buddhist spiritual teacher Thich Nhat Hanh. Years ago, I remember hearing the late Thich Nhat Hanh tell an ancient Buddhist teaching story. There was a wise queen who ruled the land with insight and compassion. She was beloved by her people and cherished by her advisors because of her steadfast humility and empathy, which was the source of her successful reign. 2 decades into her rule, she feared that she was becoming complacent, filled with that quiet pleasure of self-satisfaction. She felt that she was losing touch with something important that had given her perspective to rule successfully. She decided she needed a touchstone to recall her to her best self again. She wanted a spiritual tool on which to re-anchor her awareness. So as many a great leader has done, she called all her advisors together and asked them to find her the one thing that would guide her through sad times and happy times. The one thing that would give her strength for the hard times and appreciation for the good times. The advisors, they all went away, and as advisors tend to do, they talked and talked and talked and discussed and discussed and discussed and argued and argued and argued. What was that one thing that would provide guidance through sad times and happy times? When they returned to the queen, the advisors handed her a gold ring on which was inscribed, "This too shall pass." Could we just say that together? This too shall pass. Thich Nhat Hanh died 3.5 years ago. I was thinking about his death yesterday afternoon as I was putting the finishing touches on the sermon, and thinking about Thich Nhat Hanh, that great Buddhist teacher, not being present in the physical world. It made me feel sad. This too shall pass. I then remember the first time I ever picked up a book by Thich Nhat Hanh and read his teachings that changed completely my spiritual life. I felt so happy. This too shall pass. I reached down and scratched my dog Grayson behind his ears. I felt content. This too shall pass. I looked at the urns containing the cremated remains of 2 wonderful dogs that preceded Grayson, my Tucker and Shadow, whose memories I hold warmly in my heart, and I felt again their absence. This too shall pass. So I sat down at my kitchen table last night and I tasted that delicious warmth and spice of my dinner of take-out Indian food, vegetable samosas, cucumber salad, and aloo sag. I felt so blessed. This too shall pass. Adam Brady, a yoga teacher and an author, writes, "Life is perpetually in flux, and change is an inevitable constant. As the Greek philosopher Heraclitus reminds us, no person ever steps in the same river twice, for it's not the same river, and they are not the same person." Impermanence lies at the heart of our human reality. Like it or not, impermanence is the one thing we can count on. Impermanence is the one thing that we can count on. And thank you for the Buddhists for reminding us of this important truth. In a short blog that he entitled Impermanence, Thich Nhat Hanh wrote, "The Buddha taught that everything is impermanent. Flowers, tables, mountains, political regimes, bodies, feelings, perceptions, mental formations, even our consciousness. We cannot find anything that is permanent. Flowers decompose, but knowing this does not prevent us from loving flowers. Those beautiful flowers that Sarah got today, we know they will decompose, but it's not going to keep you, Sarah, from loving them and enjoying their beauty while they are with you. But this too shall pass. In fact, I suggest that Sarah will be able to love them more because she knows how to treasure them while they're still alive." Thich Nhat Hanh continued, "When we look deeply into impermanence, we see things change because conditions change. We're often sad and suffer a lot when things change, but remember, change and impermanence have a positive side. Remember that? Political regimes change. Without impermanence, life could simply not be. Without impermanence, a child could not grow into a beautiful young person. Without impermanence, that young person could not mature into an adult who could be a responsible parent. Without impermanence, your grandchild would never manifest, and you'd miss the joy of being an older person who is now also a grandparent, a great-grandparent, and for some of us, a great-great-grandparent. Thanks to impermanence, everything in your life is possible. Life itself is possible. If a grain of corn is not impermanent, it can never be transferred into a stalk of Fresno State corn growing alongside Chestnut Avenue. And if that stalk was not impermanent, it could never provide us with that awesome ear of Fresno State corn that we smother with butter and eat heartily on a hot Central Valley summer night. Impermanence gives us life itself. Now, on an intellectual level, I completely get the idea of all things changing. I get that change is the one thing that is permanent in life. I get it, but I don't have to like it. Because I struggle emotionally because there are lots of things I don't want to have change. And yet, as we've said, the origin of everything that life offers us comes because of change. In our now classic book, When Things Fall Apart, so aptly named by Buddhist teacher Pema Chodron. And let me just see by a show of hands, anybody read any of the great Pema's books? If not, you want to rush out. Pema, P-E-M-A, Chodron, C-H-O-D-R-O-N. She may rock your world. When things fall apart, she wrote, when impermanence presents itself in our lives, we try to recognize it as impermanence. And we don't have to look for opportunities to do this. When your pen runs out of ink in the middle of writing an important letter, recognize it as impermanence, part of the whole cycle of life. And you can feel that Danid, a pen running out of ink. What's the modern example when AI does something? It's impermanent. Well, you know, that's another sermon. Pema would say, when someone's born, recognize that birth as impermanence. When someone dies, recognize that death as impermanence. When your car gets towed, recognize that as impermanence. When you fall in love, recognize it as impermanence. And when that relationship ends, as at least for some of us, a relationship has ended, recognize it as impermanence. Pema tells us there are countless examples of impermanence in our lives every day, from that moment we wake up to greet the day until we fall asleep. And if we're conscious of our dreaming, we even have impermanence in our dreams. Pema says, being aware of impermanence is a 24-hour-a-day practice. And for most of us, this is not easy to do. We don't want to be aware of impermanence 24/7. It's not easy because understanding something is different than accepting it. So understanding something is different than accepting it. Carol Woods, another Buddhist teacher, writing in the fall of 1999, so long ago now, in the edition of Insight Journal, asks, when something in my life that I value or that's important to me changes, do I say, well, the conditions that allowed for that to exist have changed and it's passing away toodaloo? She continues, that is not my first spontaneous reaction to the loss of cherished things. My response is something that I cannot print in this journal or that this minister could not say from this pulpit. And then she gets serious. She says, do I say my father's Parkinson's disease is making him be unable to walk anymore, and that's just because conditions have changed? No, she writes, of course not. I experience that change as the pain of seeing him suffer, and that's normal. And I experience compassion for him. And there's an edge of panic. I think, what can I do to stop this from happening? What can I do to fix it? We respond like this to our own bodies, to people we love, to our relationships changing, to changing a job or losing a job, even down to our knee starting to hurt in the middle of that morning walk. How can I fix this? Our basic response, even though we know that all conditions are subject to change, is something is wrong. Something is changing. If I can figure it out, I can stop it from happening because I don't want to feel pain or loss. Does anybody relate to that at all? Carol Woods continues, let's face it, on a very basic level, we want pleasant experiences to linger, to hang around. That's how we move through life. No one tends to grieve too much when the headache goes away, or when that really hot Fresno weather turns nice. We don't say, oh, shucks, the pleasant is back. Rather, we think, finally, things are fine, it is cool, I can flow with that and leave my windows open. So, says Carol Woods, impermanence is a problem only when the pleasant changes. Impermanence is only a problem when the pleasant changes. Dear ones, we've wrestled with this truth mightily over the last 5 years. So much that was pleasant for us has changed. I'm looking out and I'm seeing some teachers, and I'm thinking the way you teach, the way your classroom unfolds, that has changed, and what was usually pleasant certainly is different. We think of the last 5 years. COVID happened, an insurrection at the Capitol happened, inflation happened, Trump 2.0 happened, increasing climate crisis happened, tariffs happened, a big ugly bill happened, the National Guard is happening. In so many ways, dear ones, this is not the world that we wanted. This is not the life that we want. But dear ones, in this moment, in this time, this is the life that we have. What we do with it, how we respond within it, what we create together out of it is up to us. And this is where impermanence can be our friend. Political regimes are impermanent. I think one of the most damaging things we do is to hold on to the vision of what we wanted, even after we know that what we wanted will never come to be. Holding on to what never was or once was but is no more keeps us living in the not now rather than the now. Could we say that together? Holding on to what never was or once was but is no more keeps us living in the not now rather than the now. One of the great spiritual challenges of life is to live not in what should be, but what is. The image that comes to mind that I have shared multiple times is of us standing upright in the center of a large circle. We're perfectly vertical. Our arms and legs are like spokes of the wheel, and our hands are holding on, keeping ourselves upright, perfectly vertical, balanced. We feel centered. We're content with the way things are. But that wheel is the wheel of time and the cycle of change, which means that it is constantly turning. And if we keep holding at the same place to the same thing, we too will begin to turn, and we go from being upright and centered to being off balance, off center, all akimbo. And the only way to regain equilibrium and a sense of balance is to let go of what we've been holding on to and reach out and hold onto something new that is there. We must hold on to the reality of that new moment, that now, which is also going to change. This is hard spiritual work. It is hard life work. Dear ones, it is the work of a lifetime, which is why they still write about this in Buddhist books that are being sold today. But this is the work, the true human work that we are called to do in order to live within the life that we have been given. It's hard work. It's hard spiritual work. It's hard life work. But the good news is, and yes, there is good news, we need not do this alone. We have each other. We have this church community, even if we're brand new to it. We've all been brand new to this sanctuary or our online sanctuary at some time, but together we have this church community, and dear ones, we have this Unitarian, Universalist faith that is ever-changing, ever-growing, but ever-rooted in the conviction that we are called to be part of the world's hope and not its fear. We are called to be part of the world's love and not its hate. As Unitarian Universalist minister, the Reverend Elizabeth Tarbox writes, "Let us find each other in a changing world. Let us experience love as something that exists, a possibility which is. Let us know that we are alive and being renewed miraculously each second, that the impermanence gives to life its freshness and surprise, that our memories of yesterday and our expectations of tomorrow make now, this moment, a cherished, precious moment. Now." May it be so. Blessed be. Amen.